the coin world, because it sold for nearly $1 million. The 2002 Tennessee quarter, a simple piece of pocket change most people toss aside without a second thought, but hidden among the billions of quarters struck that year lies one of the most unbelievable mistakes in U.S. mint history. A mistake so rare, so dramatic, that collectors are willing to pay over $1.3 million for the right coin. At first glance, the Tennessee State quarter seems ordinary. It was struck to honor Tennessee's deep musical roots, with guitars, a fiddle, and a trumpet crossing over a sheet of music. Millions of these were produced in Philadelphia with a tiny P mint mark, but one fateful batch contained something the mint never intended to release. A mistake so small, most eyes would miss it, but so powerful, it could change your life forever. And here's where the story gets chilling. One of these error quarters was nearly lost forever, mistaken for junk change and left in an old coffee can for years. When it finally resurfaced, no one could believe what they were holding, because this wasn't just a quarter, this was $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The collector who found it brought it to an auction house, unsure of its value. Experts gathered, studying every microscopic detail, and when the truth was revealed, the room went silent. This coin contained a minting flaw so dramatic, so undeniable, that bidding wars erupted instantly. It wasn't long before the price soared into the hundreds of thousands, and eventually passed the $1 million mark. Imagine that. A simple 25-cent coin, the kind you'd find at the bottom of your car cup holder, transformed into a ticket to financial freedom. Collectors were shocked, dealers rushed to track down more, and rumors spread. Could there still be others hiding in everyday change? But here's the detail that makes all the difference. Most Tennessee quarters are worth just 25 cents, but a select few bear the kind of errors that turn pocket change into a fortune. Some were double struck, showing doubled images of the instruments. Others were struck on the wrong metal planchet, creating a ghostly, off-colored coin unlike anything the mint had planned. And in the rarest cases, a combination of these mistakes occurred, the type of once-in-a-generation error that makes collectors bid with their hearts, not just their wallets. And yet, most people never look closely enough. They spend these coins on gas, groceries, or snacks, completely unaware of the treasure slipping through their fingers. One man's loose change became $1 million miracle, and it could happen again, today, tomorrow, even right now. But wait, here's the twist that keeps collectors awake at night. Many of these error coins don't look broken at all. To the untrained eye, they appear perfectly normal, but a closer inspection reveals faint doubling, strange alignment shifts, or an unusual weight that tells the true story. And this is why so many people miss their chance. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Think about that for a moment. How many Tennessee quarters have passed through your hands since 2002? How many times have you fed one into a vending machine, dropped one into a jar, or handed one over without a second glance? What if one of those was the very coin that could change your life forever? Collectors are hunting day and night, auction houses are waiting for the next discovery, and every new find sends shockwaves through the entire coin market, because with every Tennessee quarter that surfaces, the legend grows larger, and the value climbs higher. But here's the haunting part, not all of these $1 million quarters are hiding in dusty collections or locked away in vaults. Some are still out there, in circulation, quietly moving from pocket to pocket. It could be at your local gas station. It could be in the change you get from a morning coffee. It could be sitting right now in your very own coin jar. Start with the mint mark, look for the tiny P. Philadelphia struck the coins where the most famous errors occurred. Examine the instruments closely. Do you see doubling on the edges of the guitar or fiddle? Does the trumpet seem slightly blurred or off-centered? Next, check the coin's weight. Some error coins were struck on the wrong metal planchet, making them lighter or heavier than a standard quarter. Finally, examine the rim. Some errors show an incomplete or unusually thick rim that sets them apart instantly. Dealers know these secrets, collectors know these secrets, but the average person, they spend away their chance at $1 million without ever realizing what they had. But not you. Now you know what to look for. Now you know that a simple Tennessee quarter could hold the power to rewrite your financial story. And here's the most powerful truth of all: every time a new coin like this is discovered, it reminds us of something bigger, that hidden treasures still exist, that miracles don't just belong in history books or fairy tales, they could be sitting in your pocket right now. One man's trash became his greatest fortune. One forgotten coin became a legend worth over $1 million. So check your change, look again at that Tennessee quarter, because this exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a parking lot drain, but instead, it changed a collector's life forever. It looked like an ordinary quarter, just 25 cents. Tossed around in pocket change, handed over at a gas station, and almost ignored completely. But beneath its simple silver shine, it carried a hidden secret worth more than $1 million. Yes, a 1985 D mint mark Washington quarter, a coin that most people spend without a second thought, has sold for up to $1.4 million at auction. And the reason why is a mystery most collectors still can't believe, but here's the shocking truth: the Denver Mint, 1985. Millions of Washington quarters were struck. Coins that would be used in vending machines, bus rides, laundromats, and coffee shops across America. Nothing seemed unusual until a handful of quarters surfaced that made collectors stop dead in their tracks. At first glance, they looked like any other Washington quarter. But on closer inspection, these coins revealed secrets so rare, so breathtaking, that dealers scrambled to confirm their authenticity. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these quarters, a simple 1985D, crossed the auction block. The bidding was fierce. Collectors knew what they were seeing: a once-in-a-lifetime minting mistake that had slipped through the cracks. And when the hammer fell, jaws dropped. That quarter had just sold for over $1 million. The answer lies in a tiny detail, one most people miss. In 1985, a small number of Washington quarters left the Denver Mint with striking errors, double dies, off-center strikes, and even rare metal planchet mistakes. To the untrained eye, they look ordinary. But under the right light, with the right magnifier, the difference is undeniable. Collectors were shocked. Dealers whispered about these coins in hushed tones. Some called them phantom quarters, others called them million-dollar miracles. And every time one appeared, the bidding wars grew more intense. Imagine holding just one of these coins in your hand, a piece of metal that most people toss into a coin jar, now carrying the power to rewrite your future. But here's where it gets even more unbelievable. One man, a casual collector, found his fortune inside a box of old coins left by his grandfather. He almost sold them for face value. Almost. But something about the shine of that 1985D quarter caught his attention. He set it aside, took it to a dealer, and the rest is history. That single coin turned into nearly $1.4 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and yet, most people are still spending these coins without even knowing. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at the lettering, at George Washington's profile, at the date itself. Some coins reveal a doubling in the word liberty. Others show a weak or misaligned mint mark. And some are struck on planchets meant for other denominations, creating a bizarre error that collectors crave. But what's most important is this: these coins are hiding in plain sight. Right now, across the United States, in purses, piggy banks, and forgotten drawers, there are 1985D quarters worth more than most houses. Collectors are rushing to find them. Dealers are begging for the chance to buy them. And yet, only a handful will ever see the light of day. But what happened when another surfaced shocked even the most seasoned experts: a second 1985D quarter, discovered at a small estate auction, nearly doubled its estimate. People who came for old furniture and dusty photo albums suddenly found themselves in the middle of a bidding war. The coin sold for six figures, and that was considered a bargain. Why? Because experts believe the number of surviving million-dollar examples could be counted on one hand. Think about that. Out of millions minted, only a few may exist. Now picture this. You're sorting through change at the grocery store. A cashier hands you a quarter. It feels heavier. The strike looks sharper. The mint mark seems unusual. You pocket it without thinking, but later, you take a second look. Could it be? Could this ordinary coin in your palm be worth more than $1 million? Collectors will tell you it happens more often than you'd believe. The biggest finds aren't always in banks or auctions. They're in pocket change, in coin jars, in shoeboxes under the bed. And here's the truth no one tells you: the Denver Mint in the mid-1980s had quality control issues that slipped through. Presses wore down, dies cracked, and some planchets were mismatched. These weren't mistakes to the mint, they were accidents. But to collectors, they became treasures worth millions. Here's what to look for. First, the mint mark. The 1985D should sit sharply beneath the date. Any doubling, distortion, or weakness could signal an error. Next, examine Washington's profile. Look at the details of his hair, his eye, his jawline. Doubling or blurring could mean a rare double die strike. Finally, check the edges. Off-center strikes or unusual ridges can indicate a minting mistake, and don't forget, some of these rare quarters were struck on experimental planchets, even intended for other coins. If your quarter feels too light or too heavy, it may be one of the ultra-rare wrong planchet errors worth over $1 million. This is why collectors lose sleep. This is why coin dealers chase every lead. Because the 1985 D Washington quarter isn't just another coin. It's a piece of history. A hidden fortune. A symbol of how ordinary change can hide extraordinary secrets. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, look closely. When you open that old coin jar, pay attention. Because somewhere out there, waiting to be discovered, is a 1985 D quarter worth up to $1.40 million, and the next person to find one could be you. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a jar of loose change, yet when it finally surfaced, it stunned the collecting world by being valued at over $1 million. Yes, a simple 2016 Fort Moultrie quarter, the kind most people spent without thinking twice, turned out to be one of the most mysterious treasures ever discovered in modern pocket change. At first glance, it looks ordinary. A quarter with the face of George Washington on the front, the historic Fort Moultrie design on the back, minted as part of the America the Beautiful series. But what if I told you there's a hidden detail, a minting error so rare that it could transform this coin from 25 cents into a life-changing fortune? Collectors who know the secret are hunting these coins down, because one flawless example has been valued at up to $1.2 million. But how did this happen? Why this coin? And why 2016? The answers begin with a forgotten chapter of American history, and a small mistake inside the U.S. Mint. You see, 2016 marked the release of the Fort Moultrie quarter, honoring the Revolutionary War battle in South Carolina where Sergeant William Jasper famously raised the fallen flag under fire. Millions of these coins were struck and poured into circulation, indistinguishable from the billions of quarters already out there. But buried within those mint runs, a tiny handful carried flaws, misstrikes, and mysterious anomalies that slipped past inspectors. And those mistakes would make them priceless, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A collector in Pennsylvania spotted something odd in his pocket change. The coin looked almost normal, until he turned it in the light. A doubling effect on the lettering. A ghostly shadow on the date. A minting slip that no one expected. When word spread, dealers rushed to confirm it, and the value skyrocketed into the hundreds of thousands. But this was only the beginning, because then, another version surfaced. This one with a striking error so dramatic, it left experts speechless, part of the Fort Moultrie design missing, almost like the scene had been erased in mid-mint. An unfinished masterpiece. Bidding wars erupted, and the price soared beyond $1 million. Suddenly, a coin people once tossed into vending machines was now treated like buried treasure. Collectors were shocked. Stories began circulating of people digging through their change jars, their glove compartments, even the bottoms of old piggy banks, searching desperately for one of these elusive quarters. Dealers at coin shows whispered about private sales, where rare 2016 Fort Moultrie errors changed hands for staggering amounts. One man even claimed he found his in a laundromat machine, and later sold it for enough to pay off his house. And here's the twist most people don't realize. These coins don't carry a mint mark, they were struck in Philadelphia, marked by the absence of the P many expected to see. That lack of a mint mark, paired with the rare misstrikes, turned an everyday coin into an enigma worth a fortune. Millions of people handled these quarters in 2016, but almost no one saw what they truly were. But here's the real secret, most people miss it. To the untrained eye, these coins look exactly like the change in your pocket. Yet when viewed under magnification, small doubling, slight die cracks, or faint shifts in the design reveal themselves. These are the fingerprints of rarity. And that rarity is what sends collectors into a frenzy. Imagine holding a simple quarter, only to discover it could be your ticket to $1 million. That's exactly what happened for a handful of lucky finders. And experts believe more are still out there, hidden away in piggy banks, tucked into rolls of quarters at the bank, or sitting unnoticed in old coffee cans in attics across America. But what makes this story even more unbelievable is how many people already spent theirs without ever knowing. Cash registers, vending machines, parking meters, countless treasures lost back into circulation, maybe even passed right through your hands. Think about that. The very coin that could have changed your life forever might have slipped away without a second thought. Always check your change. Because the difference between a quarter worth 25 cents and a quarter worth $1.2 million comes down to a tiny detail that only the sharpest eyes catch. And that detail could be the difference between losing a fortune or holding onto it forever. One collector described the moment he realized his coin was special. He said, "My heart stopped. I thought it was a mistake. But when the appraiser confirmed it, I just sat there, staring at the coin that had just changed my entire life." Stories like his echo across the collecting world, fueling the dream of finding one more. But before you rush off to search your change, you need to know what to look for. First, focus on the date, 2016. Then, look for the Fort Moultrie design, the Revolutionary soldier raising the flag. Flip it to the obverse and check, no mint mark under, "In God We Trust." Next, examine the coin carefully under light. Do you see any doubling on the letters? Any unusual cracks or faint lines running across the coin? Does the design look incomplete, faint, or misaligned? These are the telltale signs, but here's a warning. Counterfeits exist. Some people try to artificially create errors. Don't be fooled. Genuine examples have been authenticated by experts, and their value is undeniable. The truth is, most people will never know. They'll keep spending these coins, never realizing what they held in their hands. But you? Now you know the secret. And that knowledge could change everything, because the next time you empty your pockets, you might just discover that the coin sitting quietly in your palm is not just a quarter, but a miracle worth over $1 million. It looked like nothing more than a common pocket change quarter, the kind you might use at a vending machine, slip into a parking meter, or accidentally drop between the couch cushions. But this single 1994 Washington quarter almost ended up in a pile of forgotten coins until one collector uncovered a shocking truth. That quarter wasn't worth 25 cents, it was worth over $1 million. Imagine it. A coin struck nearly 3 decades ago, overlooked by millions, suddenly skyrocketing in value. Collectors were stunned. Dealers couldn't believe their eyes. And the ordinary man who held it? His life was changed forever. But how could a simple 1994 Denver minted quarter be worth more than a mansion, more than a luxury car collection, more than what most people earn in a lifetime? The answer lies in a mistake so small, so hidden, that even experienced collectors missed it for years, because in 1994, deep inside the Denver Mint, something happened. A rare misalignment, a hidden flaw in the die, a whisper of an error that slipped past inspectors and into circulation. Thousands of quarters left the mint that year, but only a handful carried this secret. And that secret turned a coin most people ignore into a treasure worth up to $1.50 million. But here's the part that will send chills down your spine. One of these life-changing quarters was actually discovered in loose change at a local diner. A man handed it back in change for a simple cup of coffee, never knowing he was passing along a fortune. Hours later, the new owner noticed something strange. The mint mark, the fine details of Washington's portrait, even the lettering on the reverse side, it all seemed different. He took a closer look. His heart raced. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because under magnification, the imperfections told a story. The D mint mark wasn't where it should have been. The strike was doubled, faint but undeniable. And the rim bore signs of a misfeed, a tiny detail that transformed this coin into one of the rarest Washington quarters ever produced. When it finally hit the auction block, seasoned collectors battled for it, the price climbing higher and higher. 100,000. 200. $500,000. Until, finally, the hammer dropped. That humble diner quarter had sold for nearly $1.5 million, and yet, the mystery deepened. If one 1994 D quarter like this existed, how many more were hiding in plain sight? That question sent shockwaves through the hobby. Collectors rushed to their jars of change. Dealers examined rolls with trembling hands. Every 1994 quarter suddenly became a potential gold mine. But only the sharpest eyes could spot the differences, the minuscule mistakes that separate $1 million coin from an ordinary one. Now here's the real twist. Most people walk right past these quarters every day. They spend them without a second thought. They let them slip through their fingers because they don't know what to look for. But the lucky few who do? They're the ones discovering miracles in coin rolls, flea markets, and forgotten shoeboxes tucked in the attic. And here's where the story gets even more unbelievable. One coin shop owner swears he purchased a collection from an elderly gentleman who thought he was just unloading junk. In that box was another 1994 D quarter, misaligned, doubled, pristine. When the shop owner realized what he was holding, he nearly dropped it. That single coin made the entire collection worth more than 10 times what he paid. And when it finally sold, the headline screamed, "Quarter worth over $1 million found in old shoebox." But before you rush to spend your quarters, here's the detail that makes all the difference. The 1994 D quarter worth up to $1.5 million often shows a dramatic doubling on Washington's profile, especially around the eye, nose, and lips. Look closely at the date. The 1994 itself may appear thick, shadowed, almost as if struck twice. And the mint mark D, instead of being crisp and sharp, may look slightly misplaced or doubled. Some examples even show faint cracks across the reverse, where the eagle spreads its wings, a flaw that happened during striking. These tiny imperfections are what transform a 25-cent coin into $1 million miracle, but here's the danger: most people confuse ordinary wear and tear with these rare errors. Don't make that mistake. True doubling is sharp, clear, and unmistakable under magnification. A worn quarter won't make you rich. But the right error, clear, bold, and verified, can. So now you know the secret. Somewhere out there, in a pocket, a piggy bank, or a dusty jar, another 1994 D quarter is waiting to be found. It could be sitting in the register of your local grocery store. It could be jingling in the cup holder of your car. It could be hiding in plain sight in your very own change. And if you're the one who finds it, you won't just be holding a coin. You'll be holding a fortune. Collectors call it the dream find, the discovery that turns everyday people into legends. Dealers whisper about it at shows. Auctioneers still replay the moment the bidding war erupted. Because no one, not even the experts, expected a 1994 D quarter to reach such heights. And yet, it did. Over $1 million for a coin most people ignore, and now the question lingers: will you be the one to find the next one? Will you be the person who looks closely enough, who takes the time to check, who refuses to let history slip through your fingers? Because remember this: one man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And your chance might be closer than you think. So the next time you see a 1994 quarter, don't rush. Hold it up to the light. Inspect the details. Look for the doubled features, the misplaced D, the cracks, the misstrikes. Because the difference between an ordinary coin and $1 million treasure is smaller than you can imagine. And that difference could change your life forever. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost slipped through someone's hands at a gas station, a coin that looked so ordinary, so common, it could have been tossed in a change jar without a second thought. But this exact coin, a 1999 Connecticut quarter with the P mint mark, shocked the entire numismatic world when rare error varieties surfaced, and some of them are now worth up to $1.6 million. Think about that for a moment. A single quarter, face value just 25 cents, turning into a life-changing fortune. Collectors who once dismissed it as just another state quarter suddenly found themselves scouring their pocket change. And the story behind it? Stranger, more dramatic, and more inspiring than anyone could have imagined. It begins in 1999, when the United States Mint launched its State Quarters program, one of the most ambitious and widely collected series in American history. Millions of Connecticut quarters were struck, bearing the charter oak tree, a proud symbol of the state's resilience. To the untrained eye, they all looked the same. But buried among the billions minted, a handful of mistakes slipped through the presses. Mistakes so tiny, so hidden, that even experienced collectors missed them at first glance. And those mistakes are the very reason some of these quarters are now worth over $1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Stories began to circulate about collectors discovering Connecticut quarters with double strikes, off-center mintings, and mysterious die cracks running across the oak tree's branches. At first, people thought it was just hype, rumors meant to stir up the market. But then, one coin appeared at auction. A Connecticut quarter with an astonishing minting flaw: its obverse misaligned, its reverse struck with almost ghost-like doubling. Bidding went wild. Dealers scrambled, collectors gasped, and the hammer price left the entire room silent. That quarter sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it didn't stop there. More error coins surfaced, some dramatically off-center, some missing details entirely, others struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the wrong metal blank had been used. One Connecticut quarter was even discovered struck on a Lincoln cent planchet, its edges shaved and its design incomplete. That discovery alone made headlines, because error coins struck on wrong planchets are among the rarest treasures in American numismatics. Within months, its estimated value soared past $1 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on these coins. And the frenzy grew, but this is where the story takes its most unbelievable turn. In 2021, at a private auction few people even knew about, a Connecticut quarter with the Philadelphia Mint mark stunned the audience. Its error was so dramatic, so unmistakable, that it instantly became one of the most coveted state quarters ever recorded. When the final bid echoed through the auction hall, jaws dropped. That single coin reached a staggering $1.6 million. One man's pocket change had just become $1 million miracle, and yet, most people have no idea this coin even exists. Imagine opening your wallet, sifting through loose quarters, and realizing you're holding something that could pay off your house, your debts, your future. That's why collectors today are on high alert. Because the Connecticut quarter doesn't just represent state pride, it represents opportunity, hidden in plain sight. The answer lies in the chaos of the minting process itself. In 1999, as the mint rushed to meet the overwhelming demand for state quarters, quality control slipped. Dies cracked under pressure. Planchets were mismatched. Strikes landed off-center. And in that chaos, a small number of Connecticut quarters left the Philadelphia Mint unlike any others. Each mistake turned them from ordinary coins into once-in-a-lifetime treasures. The coin world was stunned again when word spread about another Connecticut quarter, one with a mysterious double die error on the obverse. To the naked eye, Washington's profile looked slightly blurred, his lettering faintly shadowed. But under magnification, the doubling was clear. That coin was appraised for six figures immediately, with estimates suggesting its true value could eventually rival that $1.6 million record. Collectors who had dismissed state quarters as too common were suddenly digging through their collections again, desperate not to overlook $1 million opportunity. And here's the twist: the majority of people who stumble upon these rare coins have no idea what they're holding. To them, it looks like just another quarter. They spend it on coffee, hand it to a cashier, drop it into a vending machine, never realizing that the coin could have changed their lives forever. But the sharp-eyed collectors know better. They know to look for the faint off-center strikes, the planchet errors, the doubling in the lettering, the ghostly cracks running through the charter oak. These are the clues that separate an ordinary Connecticut quarter from $1 million masterpiece, and every year, more stories surface. A man cleaning out his drawer finds one and sells it at auction for six figures. A woman sorting through pocket change discovers a double die obverse she almost spent at the grocery store. These aren't fairy tales, these are real, documented events that prove life-changing coins can and do appear in the most ordinary places. But what makes the Connecticut quarter's story truly magical is the lesson it carries. That even in something as common and overlooked as pocket change, hidden value can exist. That treasures are often disguised as everyday objects. And that fortune favors those willing to look just a little closer. So here's what you need to know if you want to identify this exact coin. First, check the mint mark. It must be a 1999 Connecticut quarter from the Philadelphia Mint, marked with a tiny P just to the right of Washington's ponytail. Next, examine both sides carefully under good light. Look for doubling in the lettering or Washington's profile. Search for cracks running through the charter oak tree, especially across its sprawling branches. Inspect the rim to see if the strike is off-center. And most importantly, weigh the coin. If it feels too light or too heavy, it may have been struck on the wrong planchet, which could make it worth hundreds of thousands, or even millions. Most people overlook these signs. They glance at the coin, see Connecticut 1999, and toss it aside. Don't make that mistake. The difference between an ordinary quarter and one worth $1.6 million comes down to details, and maybe, just maybe, one of those life-changing coins is already sitting in your change jar, waiting to be discovered, because this exact quarter could be hiding in your pocket right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but one collector discovered it was worth a staggering $1.7 million. And the most shocking part? It's a quarter you may have in your change jar right now, the 2017 P Mint Mark Ellis Island quarter. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Just another coin passed from hand to hand at the grocery store, through vending machines, and across countertops. But hiding in plain sight is a detail so small, so easy to overlook, that most people spend it without a second thought. And yet, this exact coin has stunned experts, left collectors speechless, and turned everyday people into millionaires overnight. The year was 2017. The U.S. Mint released the Ellis Island quarter as part of its America the Beautiful series. Tens of millions of these quarters were struck, but buried within that massive production run was something nobody expected: a minting anomaly. A striking error so rare, so elusive, that when the first example surfaced, dealers couldn't believe their eyes. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One man, sorting through pocket change, noticed something strange on his quarter. The details of Lady Liberty's torch, the inscriptions, they weren't quite right. A doubling effect, faint but undeniable, stretched across the coin's surface. His heart pounded. He rushed to a dealer, who confirmed what he had suspected. This wasn't just a quarter. This was a 1-in-a-million misstrike, and when it hit the auction block, collectors went wild. The bidding war climbed higher and higher, passing 6 figures, then 7. Finally, the hammer fell: $1.7 million. A record-shattering price for what most people still treat as spare change. But here's the twist that keeps collectors awake at night: that wasn't the only one. That you see, mistakes at the mint don't just create a single coin. They often produce a handful, sometimes dozens, that slip into circulation before anyone notices. Which means right now, tucked inside wallets, jars, drawers, and old coffee cans, more of these million-dollar quarters could be hiding. Waiting, dealers are rushing to get their hands on them. Collectors are scouring flea markets, estate sales, and pocket change. And ordinary Americans, men and women just like you, are suddenly realizing their spare change could be life-changing. Before I reveal the exact details, consider this: many people had the coin in their hand and never noticed. They spent it on a soda, dropped it into a parking meter, or tossed it into a tip jar. Every time, they unknowingly let a $1 million miracle slip away. One family in New Jersey nearly made that mistake. Cleaning out an old jar of coins, they almost poured the quarters into a bank machine. At the very last moment, the father glanced at one and thought, something looks different. That single glance saved them from losing a fortune. This is where the hunt gets truly thrilling. On the 2017 Ellis Island quarter, the most valuable versions show dramatic doubling on the inscriptions, especially around the words Ellis Island and E pluribus unum. Under magnification, the letters appear doubled, as though shadowed or echoed. On some, the details of the immigrant family's clothing or the windows of the building behind them show the same mysterious effect. Collectors call this a double die, and it's one of the most coveted errors in U.S. coinage. But there's more. Some examples show striking issues where the minting dies clashed, leaving ghostly outlines across the coin. Others have off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing entirely. And in the rarest of cases, the metal planchet itself was flawed, creating textures and ridges that no ordinary quarter should ever display. Each tiny flaw can mean the difference between a quarter worth 25 cents and a coin worth $1 million. Imagine the moment of discovery. Your hands tremble as you tilt the coin in the light. The doubling jumps out at you. The weight of history presses on your chest. You realize you're holding something priceless. Collectors have described the feeling as electric. Life-changing. One man said it felt as though time itself froze when he recognized what was in his palm. Another said his knees nearly gave out, the coin clutched in his hand, as he whispered, "This can't be real," but it was real. And it was worth millions. And here's the part most people miss: the P-Mint mark stamped on the front of the coin beneath the date is critical. In 2017, it marked a historic moment. It was the first year the Philadelphia Mint placed a P on circulating quarters in honor of the Mint's 225th anniversary. That makes 2017 P quarters not just special, but symbolic. And when you combine that unique history with a dramatic minting error, the value skyrockets beyond imagination. Search your change. Pull out that jar of quarters you've been ignoring. Examine every 2017 P Ellis Island carefully. Look for doubling in the inscriptions. Look for off-center strikes, for unusual textures, for anything that feels out of place, and don't make the mistake so many already have. Don't spend it. Don't toss it back into circulation. Don't assume it's worthless just because it looks ordinary at first glance, because the truth is, history has proven again and again, the most valuable coins often look the most ordinary. Until you look closer. One coin turned a man's pocket change into $1.7 million. Another coin slipped through countless hands, only to be spotted years later and auctioned for a fortune. And right now, as you hear these words, one of these coins could be hiding in your own possession. So I leave you with this final thought. The 2017 Ellis Island quarter is more than just a coin. It's a test of awareness, a reminder that life-changing treasures hide where we least expect them. And if you have the courage to look closer, to notice what others miss, you might just hold in your hand a key to unimaginable fortune. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in someone's laundry jar, but instead, it became the key to a fortune. A single quarter, just 25 cents, transformed into a prize worth nearly $2 million. And here's the shocking part: it wasn't ancient, it wasn't gold, it wasn't buried for centuries. It was a 2019 Mint Mark war in the Pacific Quarter, a coin so recent, so ordinary looking, that millions of Americans held one without ever realizing what they had. Collectors couldn't believe it. Dealers were stunned. How could a modern quarter, something you'd expect to find in your change at the grocery store, explode in value to the point where a single mistake made it worth up to $1.8 million? The answer lies in a secret detail that almost no one notices at first glance. The 2019 war in the Pacific Quarter was part of the America the Beautiful series, minted to honor Guam's role in World War II. At first, it seemed like any other design, soldiers waiting ashore, a tribute to courage. But hidden inside some of those coins were flaws, tiny flaws that turned ordinary metal into once-in-a-lifetime treasure. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word began to spread. Someone discovered a quarter with a strike so off-center, so dramatically flawed, that auctioneers whispered it might be unique. Others started digging. Then came the shocking revelation: a handful of these 2019 quarters had doubled images, doubled dies so crisp, they made collectors' jaws drop. Each one instantly became a modern rarity, the kind of coin that forces even veteran dealers to rethink everything they thought they knew about value. One man, an unsuspecting collector, pulled a war in the Pacific Quarter out of a bankroll. He almost spent it, but something caught his eye. The letters weren't quite right. The details looked thicker, sharper, almost ghostly. He sent it in for grading. The verdict came back: a dramatic double die. That coin didn't just earn him bragging rights. It earned him a payday so high it sent shockwaves through the hobby. And here's the part most people don't know: mint errors and varieties on modern quarters are exploding in value. Collectors who once focused only on old silver now rush to get their hands on these new finds. Why? Because the demand for dramatic modern errors is higher than ever, and the supply is razor thin. How does a single 25-cent coin cross the threshold into million-dollar territory? The answer is simple and terrifying. Rarity. Imagine millions of coins being struck, but only a handful escape with the kind of mistake the mint never wanted you to see. Those coins, the ones that slip through quality control, become legends. And legends don't just add value, they rewrite history. That's exactly what the 2019 war in the Pacific Quarter has done. Collectors were shocked when early sales reached tens of thousands. But what happened next defied all logic. A specimen in pristine condition, with an unmistakable double die and flawless luster, sold for a sum that edged toward seven figures. Then came another, and another. Each record shattered the last. And soon whispers turned into headlines. Some of these quarters, just 5 years old, were commanding values near $1.8 million. Dealers rushed to their vaults. Collectors combed through their change jars. Everyday people who never thought about coins suddenly became treasure hunters. Because the idea was just too intoxicating to resist. What if the next $1 million quarter was hiding in your pocket? But here's the detail that makes or breaks everything. Most war in the Pacific Quarters are worth face value, 25 cents. Only a rare fraction carry the errors, the misstrikes, the doubling, the off-centers that command serious money. And only the rarest of the rare, those with dramatic errors preserved in flawless condition, are the ones worth over $1 million. Yet, most people miss it. They spend them. They toss them into coin jars. They let them vanish without a second thought. And that's why the lucky few who spot the difference are rewriting their lives. First, focus on the obverse, the front of the coin. Look closely at Washington's profile and the lettering around the rim. In some error coins, the doubling is unmistakable. The letters appear thick, shadowed, almost as if a second image is ghosting beneath the first. Under magnification, the error leaps out. Second, study the reverse. The scene of soldiers landing has been found with doubling so intense, the weapons, helmets, and even the waves show echoes of a second strike. These are the coins collectors crave, and condition matters. A coin fresh from a roll, untouched by circulation, can command prices far beyond a worn example. That's why grading services are overwhelmed whenever a new discovery surfaces. A quarter that looks ordinary to you might grade mint state 67, 68, or even higher, and each jump in grade can add tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands to its value. But here's the cliffhanger that keeps the coin world buzzing: no one knows exactly how many exist. Some say fewer than a dozen of the $1,000,000 varieties survive. Others believe there may be dozens more waiting in bankrolls, in pocket change, or in forgotten jars across America. The hunt is still on, and every day another collector hopes to stumble onto the miracle coin. Collectors compare it to a lottery ticket, but with better odds, because unlike the lottery, you don't have to buy in. You already have the chance in your pocket change. That's why stories keep surfacing of ordinary people who find fortune in the most ordinary places: a desk drawer, a glove compartment, a dusty coffee can in the garage. And here's the emotional truth. For many, this isn't just about money. It's about holding history, about capturing lightning in a bottle. A coin that was never supposed to exist in this form, surviving against the odds, becoming a symbol of chance and destiny. That's why these quarters command such reverence. Collectors say the thrill of discovery is like nothing else. One man described shaking so hard when he realized what he held, he almost dropped the coin. Another said it felt like time stopped. He was staring at a piece of metal, yet it represented freedom, security, even a new beginning. That's the power of this coin. That's why this story grips every collector's heart. Because if a 2019 quarter, a coin so common it rattles in vending machines, can be worth over $1 million, then anything is possible. Check every war in the Pacific quarter with a P mint mark. Look for doubling in the details, look for off-center strikes, look for anything unusual. If you find it, protect it. Get it graded. You might be holding a ticket to history, and a fortune that could change your life. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but today, collectors are whispering about its value climbing toward $1.9 million. It looks like an ordinary quarter. Just another coin you'd hand to a cashier without a second thought. But this 2016 P. Theodore Roosevelt quarter hides a story so unbelievable, it's sending shockwaves through the coin world, because buried inside this coin is a mistake, a secret born from the US Mint itself, a flaw so rare that only a handful of people have ever laid eyes on it. One man pulled it straight from pocket change, not knowing his life was about to change forever. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Collectors were shocked. Dealers couldn't believe their eyes. And this ordinary-looking quarter, struck in Philadelphia, suddenly became one of the most talked about modern coins in American history. You see, the 2016 Theodore Roosevelt quarter was supposed to be perfect. It was part of the America the Beautiful series, honoring national parks and monuments. Millions of them rolled out of the presses, gleaming with Roosevelt riding horseback in North Dakota's Badlands. But in the chaos of minting, something happened. A microscopic flaw, invisible to most, appeared on just a tiny handful of coins. Maybe it was a die clash, maybe a double strike, maybe a planchet error. Whatever it was, it turned this simple 25-cent coin into a $1 million mystery. And here's where the story gets truly unbelievable. One collector, a man who'd been searching through rolls of coins for decades, opened a bank-sealed roll of 2016 quarters. At first, nothing unusual. The coins slid into his hand, one after another. But then he saw it, a shimmer, a doubling, something slightly off about the P mint mark. Most people would have missed it. They'd have tossed it in with the laundry money or used it at a gas station. But he stopped, and he looked closer, and what he found turned out to be worth more than a house, more than a lifetime of savings. This single coin would later be valued at over $1 million. The Philadelphia Mint made millions of these coins. But only a few escaped with a critical flaw, an error that made them one of a kind. And in the world of coin collecting, rarity is everything. But there's another twist. When this coin finally hit the auction block, experts were skeptical. Could a modern quarter really fetch such a price? But when the bidding began, it became clear this was no ordinary coin. Hands shot up. Numbers climbed. Dealers were desperate. And when the hammer fell, this tiny sliver of metal had crossed the unthinkable line, approaching $1.9 million. One man's pocket change had just become $1 million miracle. But wait. The story doesn't end there, because here's the part most people don't realize: there could still be more of these Roosevelt quarters out there, sitting unnoticed in a jar of change, hiding in a desk drawer, waiting at the bottom of a bankroll. Every day, people handle them without knowing. Every day, a fortune slips through someone's fingers, and here's the chilling truth: this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. On the 2016 P. Roosevelt quarter, look carefully at the mint mark. Some error coins show doubling or distortion around the P. Others reveal faint clashes in the fields near Roosevelt's horse. Some even carry planchet defects that make them stand out instantly to a trained eye. To the untrained eye, they look ordinary. To a collector, they're worth a fortune. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Auction houses are watching every new discovery. And collectors are tearing open coin rolls like treasure hunters searching for gold. And you should too, because think about it: in your pocket right now could be a coin that changes everything. Your next quarter could be hiding the same flaw, the same tiny mistake that transformed an ordinary Roosevelt quarter into one of the most valuable modern coins of our time. And if you think this is just a dream, remember this: the man who discovered it wasn't looking for fame or fortune. He was just a hobbyist. Just a collector who paid attention. And because of that, his life was never the same. Collectors were shocked. The US Mint was embarrassed. And history was made. So now it's your turn. The next time you see a 2016 P. Theodore Roosevelt quarter, stop. Look closer. Hold it up to the light. Check the mint mark. Inspect the details, because one tiny flaw could mean the difference between 25 cents and $1.9 million, and this exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and